If you're a Colorado fan, you should feel as confident about Jordan Seaton now more than ever.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borber. Today's episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We got Jordan Seaton update, and this is probably the best one that we've had arguably since he committed. Obviously, the commitment was pretty darn good, but after that, it all went downhill. So it seemed. But yesterday, Deion Sanders Jr., Bucky as he goes by, or as they call, I don't know if he goes by Bucky. That's what they call him. I don't know if that's his preferred nickname. Never really thought about that. I've always thought about that with nicknames. Do people like their nickname or do they just go by it? Either way, Bucky, Deion Sanders Jr., however you refer to him, however he wants to be referred to, posted two separate social media posts, one on Instagram, one on Twitter. And he has people, Colorado fans, college football fans going crazy because the first one, and I'm not going to show you this one just because it's obviously it's a picture, so there's really no point. And I'll just describe it to you, a little ASMR style. I'm just going to perfectly describe you this picture. He goes, his caption is, video is taking forever to upload. So it's like a screenshot of his YouTube page, and the video, that's the most recent video, signing day part 2 out of 3. Don't believe everything is the title of the video. Says it's 23%. Clearly might need to get a little Wi-Fi upgrade over there. Had to do the same myself. Wi-Fi is tough out here. But if you just look at it from without clicking on the app formerly known as Twitter or X, it's like, okay, this dude's Wi-Fi is bad, whatever. And then you click on it, and on the top, there's a little, when you get a phone call, if you have an iPhone, it'll, especially at FaceTime, it'll have a FaceTime video notification, and it says Jordan Seaton and Shedeur. And it's like, oh, Jordan Seaton's in the mix. And then today, he posted on Instagram, and I will share this with you without sound, so that way I don't get like any infringement, or I don't want to get sued for music because he has music in the background. So let's just turn that off. And this is today. No sound, but yeah, it's a video of him driving, he's laughing, and then Jordan Seaton. Oh yeah, he pans to Jordan Seaton, the 5-star offensive tackle who Colorado is obviously after, and is badly wanting to add to their roster. And I think if you're a Colorado fan, you have to be positive about this. I said the best thing for Colorado outside of him signing on signing day, which this wasn't a hot take by any means, was him not signing with anyone. Because obviously you could still sign today on Friday, so he could still sign. Or as John Garcia Jr., who joined the show yesterday, said, you don't actually have to sign. You could just enroll. Obviously, not everyone has that capability, but Jordan Seaton is one of those guys where if he just kind of wants to show up and roll up to Colorado, he could. And so him talking to Shedeur, him being wherever Deion Sanders Jr. is, him being with Colorado affiliated people is a major sign. Because I think the thing that hurt Colorado was, even if Jordan Seaton is playing like this recruiting game where it's like, oh, I'm keeping you on your toes. Like he did the thing with the graphic where it was Ohio State, Tennessee, Maryland, Alabama, Florida, I think the other team was, or whoever the other teams were. And Colorado wasn't on the graphic, and then he goes on to Undisputed and commits right away, or commits to Colorado. And it's like, okay, so he's clearly a little shyster, a little jokester, not a shyster, I guess, but like a little jokester about what he's doing. He's fully embracing the process. Travis Hunter did something similar when he transferred from Jackson State. He posted the 100,000 subscriber, or get me to 100,000 subs, and then I will announce my commitment. And then he got there, and then he didn't announce his commitment. And then even when he did, there was like a YouTube, his little thumbnail was certain program. It was like Florida State, Georgia. Like, where am I going to go? So it was like they're playing the game, and I think Colorado does that really well of marketing themselves. I do think, though, whether people want to admit this or not, and this is just me speculating, based off what I've been told by John and other recruiting insiders, is that the Mike Locksley visit did kind of, I won't say change things, but it may have delayed the process a little bit for Colorado, as we can see, because I think he was gung ho ready to go to Colorado, and then other programs probably came at him more with more NIL money. Other programs came at him more with other stuff, and as we heard in the Hayes Fawcett interview, he was kind of surprised at how hard people were recruiting him after he committed, and so I think maybe there was, I won't say a doubt, but there was like a kind of a second thought maybe where it was like, oh, is this the move for me? Or like whatever it may be. But him being with Shedeur Sanders or talking to Shedeur Sanders, him being with Deion Jr., great sign. You love to see that because Colorado needs him. Even if they bring in a bunch of other portal guys, which they did make another portal addition yesterday, that I didn't talk about, but I will get to him right now. They brought in a transfer by the name of, let's see, FIU transfer, Colorado. I forgot his name already. Philip Houston, excuse me, started all 12 games, 6'5", 250 pounds. He will obviously bring in some depth. I think for guys like this, maybe like 250 pounds is a little undersized for a Power 5 offensive lineman, unless you're playing center. But even then, you want some beef. You want him bigger. And so he's obviously going to have a chance to get bigger, and he'll have a chance to compete. But that's more depth because now we're working with Tyler Johnson. You're working with Yakiri Walker. This is the offensive line breakdown. So you got Yakiri Walker, Tyler Johnson. I expect both of them to start. Justin Mayers, Khalil Benson. That's 4. Then you bring in, obviously, you did lose Matthew Bedford to Indiana, but then you bring in Phillip. You got 5 transfer linemen. You got Jordan Seaton in the cards, it seems like. And then Colorado also landed a commitment from Jordan Seaton's teammate today, an unranked offensive lineman who played at him with IMG. You're bringing in 7 new linemen, plus you got Tyler Brown. You got Savion Washington, a few of the other guys that ran it back from last year. You have a lot of depth. Now, will this depth work out? Who knows? That's obviously TBD, to be determined, as the smart people say, TBD. But what are you going to do if you're Colorado and you lose Jordan Seaton? It's kind of like, we have to do this whole offense line in the portal thing again next year. But if they keep him, he's a cornerstone of the program. He's someone who Coach Prime is going to probably start right away. He's going to develop. He's going to get better over the years. And then he's going to attract more talent to play with him. He's going to be like, attract other offensive linemen who maybe were shying away from going to Colorado. He is a cornerstone for so many reasons. And if you're a Colorado fan, you have to be confident. He's with the Sanders, and that's a great thing. He's not in Maryland. He's not at Tennessee right now. He's wherever Deion Sanders Jr. is. They're having a good time. And whenever you're hosting someone for visits or whatever the situation is, you want to be the last one. And obviously it's a dead period, so he can't be visiting. But Deion Sanders Jr. is not a coach. And so he's kind of like a recruiter by default. It's a whole thing. It's a great tactic by Colorado if it works out. I would say I've definitely, if you were a Colorado fan, be more confident now than I would be over the past couple of days, because there was some scary hours in those past couple of days if you're a Colorado fan. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about why this Colorado team was soft this past season. And I have a good reason, good explanation too. But first, this episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry about when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets to all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome back. Sorry. A little second segment sip. I've been getting over that flu bug that's been going around, and it got me right there. It got me the little cough. It got me with a little cough. So I apologize. But why is Colorado soft? Well, Coach Prime said they were. You could tell in the recent episode, I believe is episode 4 of the Amazon Prime documentary. Colorado wins against Colorado State. Great. Boom. Everyone's flowing. I think Deion Sanders knew at that time what the problems were. And then they go to the Oregon game, and Coach Prime said it was an old-fashioned butt whipping. They got outplayed, outcoached, everything in between. Oregon was a really good team. I still think Oregon was one of the best teams in college football this year. I think they just were not as good as Washington. Obviously, Washington got the best of them twice. And so Oregon was a really good team, though. Tough first test for Colorado. I remember thinking that Oregon wasn't that good because of how they played against Texas Tech, who I thought was really bad. And for some reason, Texas Tech just played Oregon really tough at that time. So sometimes the eye test lies to you. Sometimes they just have a bad game. Then they play against USC, and you could kind of tell after the Oregon game, first of all, you could tell that the locker room had never faced adversity together. And obviously going 3-0 and all the attention may have gotten to them because it looked a little meltdown-ish. I know after every loss, everyone's like, oh my gosh, we should have done this, this, and this. But there was yelling, there was screaming from the players. And you can just kind of tell that they weren't ready, even if they weren't ready to lose. No one's ever ready to lose. But they weren't ready for adversity. And then heading up to that game, there was multiple. It showed like 7 players going down with injuries at practice, and Coach Prime just talking about how back in his day, which I want to preface this because obviously Coach Prime is a Hall of Famer. He's got the gold jacket. He is one of the premier athletes to ever walk this planet. But things were a little different back then. People were not as sensitive to being injured. People were not as like doctors weren't as advanced and stuff like that. They were willing to take more risks. So he tells a story of when he was playing for the Cowboys. He takes a little reverse, gets tackled, and his face mask hit his eye and broke his eye socket or something like that. And he got up right away, ran off the field, and he said that no one should ever have to like carry you off the field. And like he was just talking about how the importance of like kind of I won't say manning up, but he wanted them to get tougher because it seemed like there was a lot of guys, and he said it in the doc. It seemed like guys were just trying to avoid practicing, whereas like practice is getting hard. This time of the year is getting physical, and now I'm my hamstring hurts or my calf hurts or whatever it may be. And Coach Prime wasn't going for that. He said that realistically, I think it was him, whoever was narrating. I think it was Coach Prime, one of the coaches, maybe. I forgot who said it, but it was true. They said once you get into like no one's body's ever healthy in the NFL. Like everyone is always in shambles. Everyone's hurting. Everyone's hurt. You have to play through the injury. You have to play through all the adversity. Otherwise, football ain't for you. And that's what they said. And so I think that was kind of the hard part. And then they lose to USC. They show that one. And it was just a lot of, which I thought the Cormani aspect was interesting because they did kind of shine a light on the Cormani McClain issues that were happening, I think, around the USC game, where I was like, why isn't he playing? And Coach Prime was like, he's not prepared. He doesn't show up to the meetings, late to the meetings. And I remember talking about that. I remember having John come on the show and talk about how difficult it is to adjust to the college game because Cormani is someone who he was a 5-star corner, great athlete. I think he knows football, but I think there's a difference between knowing football and understanding football. And I think he understood football to a certain extent, and I don't think he quite understood all the details that he needed to put himself into the best position. And I think Coach Prime kind of hinted at that when he was talking about who was and was not watching game film. And then they go into the defensive backs room, and obviously it could be edited. We never know, but you kind of see the confusion on Cormani's face. The defensive backs coach goes, okay, Cormani, we're in this look. What is your job? Or what is this look right here? And he didn't have an answer. There was a couple times where he was just like, you could tell him, like, is that prime, like you're in school and teacher calls on you and they're like, okay, Kevin, what does that mean? And you're just like, oh, I don't know. And you could just tell that's what he was going through. And obviously, I think he kind of proved himself down the stretch a little more. He got more playing opportunities, so he obviously was taking it more seriously. But it was a tough little go there for him, and it was just one of those things where it's a growing process, and he's grown. He's someone who should be a starter for Colorado moving forward if everything goes right. If not, then they'll have some issues. But if you're Colorado and someone who likes Colorado, you look at this kind of documentary where it's at right now because it's about to go downhill because they just lost to USC, so they're gonna play against Arizona. Arizona State, and that's their last win of the season. And then it goes Stanford, boom, 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 loss. And the Stanford game is where the wheels really fell off for Colorado. So I'm going to be really interested to see kind of what the message was there, because obviously that was tough. That was a tough one to watch. That was a tough watch. They blew it. They blew it hard. And if you're Colorado, you kind of have to figure out how to adjust moving forward. Obviously, the season's over, but Coach Prime's talked about building the culture, having guys bought into the culture, and I think there was some issues with that this past season. And you could tell he's talking about guys being soft. He's talking about guys not faking injuries, but maybe over exaggerating their injuries. Like, oh, my leg hurts. Like, are you injured or are you hurt? Everyone's hurting, but if you're injured, don't play. That's kind of what I think LeVar Ball said that. Not to quote someone random, but it's just one of those things where you have to tough it out. And I don't think that Colorado team had that tough of identity. And I think it's something that they'll learn from. I'm looking back because obviously, one, you learn from the season as a whole, and then I also think they're going to learn from the doc about themselves because they were confident, which could be confused with cockiness. They were confident, and I also think that they had a lot of room to grow as football players, as young men, and Coach Prime's going to help them do that. But yeah, it was a really interesting episode. You let me know what your biggest takeaway was, because I think there's quite a few things to take away. And then we're going to talk about roster construction, how it appears Coach Prime is on track with what his plan is. Now, whether his plan is going to work, I don't know, but we'll talk about that. But first, as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options that includes spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I'm Kevin Borba. Thank you guys for making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to tune in, like, subscribe, follow, give me 5 stars. I need those 5 stars. Okay. Roster construction. A lot of people, myself included, I have less questions about it now, in terms of like their ability to acquire talent. I have questions about how it works in the long run. The roster method build. I saw a great tweet from Brian Howell over at Buff Zone, and he said, Deion Sanders has stated that he has a 40-40-20 plan with recruiting. 40% grad transfers, 40% undergrad transfers, which are guys with multiple years of eligibility, and then 20% high school. And then Colorado's class this far, grad or older transfers, because there's a lot of 6th and 7th year guys out there. Casey Thompson started his career at Texas, went to Nebraska, went to FAU. He's now looking for his 4th school. So many older guys out there. It's pretty crazy. Older transfers, they got 10, 45%. Younger transfers, they got 7, 32%. High school signees, they got 5, 23%. So obviously they plan on adding more. It's one of those things where I think it'll be an interesting method, because I think this is realistically the last year that I would try that method if it doesn't work again. Like, Colorado's win total, I think, was 6, according to betonline.ag. And if Colorado doesn't make a bowl game next year, I think they have to try something new. Like, I think they have to hit the recruiting trail really hard, because the transfer thing obviously wouldn't be working at that point. You're going to lose Shedeur to the NFL. So it seems like Colorado's building around the 2024 season to make a push right now. And it's like, if it doesn't work out, you can't keep doing it. Like, I know that's what you prefer, but like, you can't keep doing, like, I prefer to eat Mexican food, taco truck, a lot. I do. I love it. But if I'm trying to get in better shape, which I am, New Year's resolution, here we come, I can't be eating out all the time. It's the same thing with the transfer portal. If you want to do something a certain way and it has shown you twice that it doesn't work, you can't keep doing it. Now, if it does work out this year, I also think it's dangerous because then they might lean more into it. But it will show Coach Prime what players, what positions he needs to value in the portal because there's really no need for him to go out there and get 5 receivers every portal class. He's going to have skill position players. He's going to recruit that position well. He's going to attract like guys like Will Shepard, Xavier Weaver, Jimmy Horn Jr. Those guys are going to come. It's the big guys up front. It's the offense lineman. It's the defense lineman where if this works, you probably should still try to recruit the position and develop it. Otherwise, you're just taking a chance on other guys, other programs' leftovers or failed products or guys that are trying to make the jump to a higher level. And it's going to work out sometimes, but nothing works out more than development. And I think there needs to be more of an emphasis on development. And I think that's what Colorado's biggest battle is going to be is development. I don't think they're going to have issues attracting talent. It's the issue of attracting the right talent and developing them into that system. So that way it's not like a revolving door constantly, because if it's a revolving door constantly, there's no continuity. There's no sort of like consistency. And I don't think that's the recipe for success, but Coach Prime is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. I feel like a lot of people are shocked by that. I don't know why you're shocked with anything. The only thing that shocked me the other day about Coach Prime actually was when he was on the podcast with Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco, and they were talking about sex positions. I was not expecting that. I can tell you that. Shannon Sharp is a wild man. I'll just say that. But Coach Prime doesn't really do anything to shock me. I think it's more like he does things that have me going, oh, I'm not shocked that he did something this like crazy. I'm surprised or I'm bewildered or in awe of what he's doing because he is doing what he says, whether it works out or whether it doesn't. That'll be kind of the tail or what we look out for, because you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting it to work. That's called insanity. If it doesn't work, obviously. If it works, great. But I feel like I'm really interested to see what his method is this season going into the 2025 season, because his sons are going to leave. There's a lot of speculation that he's done coaching after they leave. There's a lot of people that think the whole goal for him was to coach his sons and leave. And I don't know if that's true, but we'll kind of be able to tell by his efforts, I guess. And so everybody stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for making me your first listen of the day. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, commenting, supporting. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow. Make sure to give me 5 stars on wherever you get your podcast. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys on Monday or after the holiday. I'll probably record an episode over the weekend, drop it on Monday to talk about something random, something cool, something unexpected that you guys won't be expecting. But I hope you guys have a happy holidays, and I will see you guys on Monday.